Hey everyone, welcome to the Wake Up and Change the World show. I'm Lisa,
And I'm Kim.
and today we're going to be talking about the emergence of the evolutionary entrepreneur in the digital world. Now, what the heck does that mean? Look, the digital world is where business exists nowadays, and at a certain point, about a decade ago, or maybe even a little bit longer ago, the internet space was pretty much dominated by internet marketers, by people who knew that they could leverage this digital space to sell products, to sell their ideas, to sell little widgets, this and that, and make a buck or two. And actually, those beginning people did make a lot of money. But what's happened over the past decade or so is every business has realized that you have to exist and have some type of presence, some type of online presence, right? And when we are talking about this emergence of the evolutionary entrepreneur, what Kim and I are specifically speaking into is this group of entrepreneurs who consider themselves conscious entrepreneurs, right? Those people who feel that the purpose of their business is driven by a mission, by a purpose, the bottom line, that they have a triple, what we call triple bottom line, right? The problem is that these people aren't inherently internet marketers, right? Kim, they're not internet marketers, and
Yeah,
so it's a little bit harder, right? There's this. How do we navigate this space as evolutionary entrepreneurs? So that's sort of really the diving in point to our conversation today.
beautiful. I love it, Lisa. And I think that there are a lot of people that really resonate with that. They want to perform business in a way that has an elevated consciousness. I think that's where conscious entrepreneur came out of. Somebody actually asked me that question the other day, like, are there unconscious entrepreneurs? Are they passed out? So
Yeah,
that's not
that's a
what
good
we're talking
question. I love that. Actually,
about.
yes.
So,
I
so
would
how do we
question that sometimes.
So how do we bring this elevated consciousness, this awareness of business, and the ecosystem of business that exists now with the digital age, the sheer fact that we're able to reach across the whole entire planet in a split second at the speed of technology, and how do we then perform business in this new digital landscape?
And you know what, Kim, like I think of the internet still is like this super new space, right? It is. And we're the first generation that's using the internet in business. And the internet is still a little bit like the wild, wild west. It's except that it's called, maybe we call it the wild, wild web.
Oh my gosh, I think you just coined a new phrase there. The wild, wild web. Yeah. And it is a bit wild and woolly. And I think people are still finding their footing. They're still figuring out, how do I navigate in this space as a business owner? And I think especially as a small business owner that wants to do business online, that there are so many people out there, and if you're watching, you're probably one of them, that truly feel like your work is meant to reach a wide variety of people, a very wide, broad audience of people, and larger numbers of people. And now that's accessible to you through using the internet, through using online tools. But how do you do it? And how do you do it in a way that stays congruent with that vision or those standards that you have of doing it with an elevated consciousness, doing it with the intention to truly connect with people and be authentic and do business in a way that feels very ethical?
Yeah, I think that's so many people are talking about that, exactly what you're talking about. How do I do this, but how do I do it in a way that feels ethical? It's not a new conversation. We're not bringing up anything new into this space, but I think what we want to really do is look at, okay, so we've heard this argument already, so what, like, so what do we do? And I think that that's this exactly what we're getting to the topic of what today is about. It's like there's this emergence of evolutionary entrepreneurs who are realizing I need to use and can use this tool of the internet to reach more people, to spread my message in a way that I've never been able to before. But how do I do that? Right? Like you said, how do I do that in a way that feels ethical and honest and blah, 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 blah. So to me, what we have to look at first is what are the models? How have we been doing it up to now? And as I see it, we've been using models and maps that really are, what I guess I would consider it more along the traditional lines of how we approach our marketing, how we approach selling and business. And of course, there's of course, with internet marketing, all of these ideas like funnels and Facebook ads and all of this stuff that we talk about actually in a funny way in our trailer. But still, we have to look at that there's perhaps a new way of doing these things that hasn't really even yet completely emerged online. It's an interesting place to be in, actually, at this point in history, I have to say.
It is very interesting. And I think it's extremely exciting and a little bit daunting as well. And I think that one of the things I love that you talk about, Lisa, is we actually have to be the ones to create the new maps, the new ways of doing business in this digital world. And when we try to use the old maps, the old ways of doing things in this new space, it doesn't work. And, one example we see is that there is no hiding. There's no hiding. Any tiny little thing that you've ever put out on the web is there forever. Somebody can dig it up. Even if you delete things off of the web, delete videos or whatever, there are backups. There's no hiding here. And so I think one of the keys in this new map that we need to create together is a sense of very deep integrity and authenticity, and even just this awareness of transparency. Like, you might as well just come out and be authentic and transparent, because there's no hiding and you're going to be found out if you're not.
Right. I think that that's a really interesting point. I'm glad that you said integrity, because there's two words that came up for me in this new model, this new map, which is first and foremost integrity, but second and totally connected to it is intimacy. So I want to respond first to this point that you made that's so true, is that anything that we put online is there for the world to see. So let's be in integrity with what we put up on the web. And I'm not talking about just about ourselves, but anybody can post anything. And that's why I call it the wild, wild web. There is no regulation right now. Things can get put up that aren't so great about you, and then you have to deal with reputation management with your business, with your organization, with your company. So that's one thing. We know that there's trolls out there who come and on Yelp, for instance, and write shitty things about restaurants or whatever, and it's not even true. How do you deal with that? Again, we go back to how we use the web in an integrous way, as opposed to an abusive way. So we have to look at that. And then number two is we have to look at this piece about intimacy. I believe that we have an opportunity now, unlike ever before, to be more connected. And Kim, we talk about this all the time, that we're suffering a connection crisis at this point in humanity. And the way to start to heal that is to heal the connection that we have. Well, at our fingertips on the web, we can do that. We can be ultra connected. There's a way that we can create intimacy and create relationships, authentic relationships, in a way that we've never been able to do before. So how can we use this tool now to do that, to support the growth of our businesses, to support the awakening of human and social and planetary potential? I think these are all really important questions that we need to ask ourselves as we're using this tool, the internet, as it's actually not just using it, it's a necessity now in our business life, in our day-to-day business life. And, I'm going to take a little short commercial break here. We're sort of halfway through our 18-minute show. Do a quick little commercial break for you guys, and then we'll hop right back into this, I think, really important discussion. So we just want to let you know that this show is sponsored by Wake Up and Change the World, an online marketing consultancy that provides purpose-driven strategy and done-with-you training that accelerates the growth of your business online. And by the way, every business does have a blind spot that's keeping it from being more profitable online. You can go to www.mybusinessblindspot.com to find out what your business blind spot is in less than 30 seconds.
So here we are in this new digital age, figuring out what are the new maps that we want to create. And we've talked about integrity, and we've talked about intimacy. So far, what else do you think?
Well, I think diving a little bit into what we do all the time with our clients is this intimacy part. I mean, it's funny to say intimacy because people think, oh, like sexual relations. No, we're not talking about that. We're just talking about how do you have a true connection, a true relationship with someone. And I believe wholeheartedly, in the work that we're doing, Kim, which is around, like I always say, baking into the DNA of your business model, into the DNA of your online business presence, modeling human relationships, right? That brings us back to intimacy. How do we model the natural progression of a human relationship in the way that we do business online? That's critical. And there's some things that we can learn from some of the internet marketing out there that's absolutely fantastic. And we shouldn't just throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're not saying that when we're creating new maps that we have to start from scratch. Like, why create something? Why recreate the wheel? No, let's just make it better, right? Let's just take it from this older version and update it to a version that now works for us.
Yeah, I love that. So how do we take what was some of the good that was working in the old maps, the old way of doing business offline, or even some of the online internet marketing strategies, and move it into this new way of doing business? Some people would even call it a new business paradigm. And I think one of those things is really using technology, using digital potential, digital technology at its highest potential, which actually can further human and social potential. And Lisa, I know you've done so many programs and so much work around this.
Yeah, I do. And I think that it comes back to, in order for us to harness digital potential in service of human and social and planetary potential that you're talking about, Kim, is that we have to have, number one, a bigger context, a different narrative, or I'll just say a bigger context in which we're working within a bigger context in which we're using this tool. That might not make too much sense right now, and I'll explain in just a moment. So we need to have context for how we're using the tool. Number two, we need to know that the internet and digital potential, the digital space is just a tool. That's all it is. It's not good. It's not bad. It's neutral. It's how we use the tool that can be very abusive in the way that we find a lot of stuff happening online, or like deceit and lies and manipulation that happens all over the place, or we can use it to its highest potential to create connection and deeper levels of intimacy. So I think this brings us back, wraps us back around to this concept of the evolutionary entrepreneur and the emergence of the evolutionary entrepreneur. So, Kim, as you know, in the work that we do, we're always using this context and saying, okay, when you recognize who you are as an evolutionary entrepreneur. So maybe I'll just take like 2 seconds to describe at a super high level. An evolutionary entrepreneur is someone who's aware that they have unique gifts and talents that are theirs and theirs alone to share within their unique circle of influence. And because of that, it creates a unique obligation for that entrepreneur. And as an evolutionary entrepreneur, we've chosen to use the vehicle of our business to share our unique gifts and talents. So that's like so high level, but at least it gives a context. And when we come into this space to use these tools, knowing that that's the purpose, things really change. It really changes the approach to how we use the tools, because what I see, Kim, is a lot of evolutionary entrepreneurs coming into the digital space and just thinking it's a tool to be used, it's a necessary evil, right? As opposed to coming into the space and saying, whoa, this is a tool that I can use to fulfill my unique obligation, to share my unique gifts and talents with those who need them most. That's exciting to me. To me, that's a much more exciting context to come into marketing online with.
I love it. Yeah. What a difference in saying like, oh my gosh, I have to put this Facebook ad campaign up, and what's my ad spend, and I have to monitor the ads on a daily basis, rather than, how am I using my gifts and talents to their highest potential and reaching the most amount of people online as possible? And how can I think we haven't even really realized the fullest potential of the internet as a vehicle for building relationships in general, much less doing business, which basically is all about building relationships with customers and potential customers and clients.
Absolutely. Wow, that was a great wrap.
All right.
We would love to know what all you viewers think. What are your comments on this whole topic of the emergence of the evolutionary entrepreneur in the digital landscape? Are you an evolutionary entrepreneur? What is your feeling? What are your thoughts and your feelings about the discussion that we've had today? You can leave them for us on our show page, which is maybe where you're watching this show right now. We would love for you to visit us over on our Facebook page. So we would love to see you over there, continue this discussion, and we'll be back next week. So grab yourself, a cup of wake up, join us for the show, and we'll continue with these conversations. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and we'll see you next week.